A2theK.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A2theK Wrestling Show, where we're here to talk Money in the Bank, results and reactions, Anthony.
Indeed, Carl.
There were some results, and we had some reactions. Tune in next week.
We did.
I kid.
Nice.
So yeah,
Money in the Bank. Hell of a title, considering the current state of the world, isn't it? Money in the Bank, something none of us really have.
Yes, no Money in the Bank is what the average folk would call this pay-per-view. Especially after spending their last $9.99 on the premium live event. But
no pay-per-views no more. Let's dive right on in, Carl.
Let's dive on in.
Right on.
Kicking off the show, there was no prelims. Not prelims. What do they call them? What do they call them? The hell did they call them? All I was in my head is prelims and buy-ins, and that's not either of the things.
No, it's kickoff.
Kickoffs, yes. There was no shows on the kickoff. So we went straight into the big time with the women's Money in the Bank. So obviously, a reminder. We had Becky Lynch, we had Alexa Bliss, we had Liv Morgan, we had Raquel Rodriguez. Is that right? Is that right this time?
Yes.
We had Lacey Evans, we had Asuka, and we had Shotzi. Now,
and firstly, let's say I think we were both wrong on the winner here.
Yeah, I think we were. I think did we both go for Becky?
We were both wrong. I can't remember. I think I might have. I can't even.
You went for Shotzi. You had a Wilder. You went for Shotzi.
Yeah.
I went for Becky. So safe to say we were both wrong. But I never expected it to turn out the way that it did. And I mean, obviously, because we didn't predict it to be that way. But
massive credit to WWE here. They've gone for like things that we don't typically expect or get very often from WWE. They went for pushing a younger talent and doing something unexpected.
Exactly. I mean, to put it into context, I think we had what was it on the prediction series? We had about 9 or 10 points up for grabs or something. I got 2. Anthony got 3. It was a bad
I kicked
score.
Your ass.
You kicked my ass for once. So it was low scoring all around, which is a good thing because it means you're surprised.
Don't be wrong. I correct me if I'm wrong, Carl, because you managed the prediction series, but I think WrestleBuzz did like really well.
They got 7, but they did the best.
It was a really tough pay-per-view to predict, which is what you want. You want an unpredictable pay-per-view. But, hats off to WrestleBuzz for calling a lot of stuff that was quite difficult to fucking call.
Well, exactly. I think they even got like the likes of the last participant in the men's Money in the Bank as well, so fair play to them. But yeah, I think kicking off the show, I don't know how you felt. When I saw this was kicking things off, it did make me think, are we going to get a cash-in on the same show? Now, I knew, obviously, whoever won the men's Money in the Bank, that wasn't going to be possible because Roman's nowhere to be seen. He wasn't booked. So we knew we weren't getting a...
One way to not let them cash in. Just don't be there.
Just don't show up, ever. So I kind of figured when this was the first match that we might see some kind of cash in. I don't know whether you kind of also thought that as well, but I think ultimately...
Yeah, I think it did slightly signpost. Not that it was a bad thing and it was an awesome cash in, which we'll get to, but I did think it did kind of signpost it in all fairness.
Yeah, and I think ultimately there was, we spoke about it in the news now. Shotzi took some flack for her role in this match, basically being called things like botchy and things like that, where essentially she did make a couple of mistakes in the match. Now, firstly, she tried to do the Kofi Kingston spot where he ran up the ladder, on the rungs of the ladder to hit the opponent, and she basically fell through the ladder, which wasn't ideal. Then there was a spot where she had Alexa on her shoulders and was going to kind of ram her into the ladder, and that just also didn't kind of really pan out. So they were the two main things. But all in all, very minor, from a botch standpoint, I thought. I think that the match itself was, I think everyone really delivered. They all had kind of really good chances to shine, to have some good moments. Now, unfortunately, there was a moment in there with Raquel Rodriguez, which I think would have been awesome had it been done properly, and I think it was maybe inexperience, but essentially she had 2 people on the ladder, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Liv and Alexa possibly, and she was going to lift the ladder up with the pair of them on it, but one of them was too far in the middle to the point where she couldn't get an even balance.
So, it was that unbalanced, yeah.
And so it ended up looking pretty shit, which is a shame because I think it would have been a cool spot which we haven't seen before, but stuff like that happens. But Yeah, essentially, the match.
Again, hats off for the creativity. Like they've tried spots and it hasn't worked perfectly, but I like that they're still trying to do stuff. Like you say, we hadn't had that before, so it would have been a cool spot. So
no, one thing which surprised me in this match actually was I don't know whether it was just the crowd for the night or what, but Lacey Evans got pretty badly booed throughout. And obviously, she's being booked as babyface at the minute. So I was quite surprised by that because there was a few times when she was fending off some of the baddies and climbing up the ladder and people were booing it. So I thought that was weird.
It's difficult. It's a difficult gimmick to keep as a babyface. Like she could so easily go into the heel gimmick with this exact same character.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It is a difficult one to keep babyface.
Well, do you know what I thought was weird as well about the lineup? There's 7 women in this match, and really the only standout heel was Becky because I know Shotzi had recently turned a couple of weeks ago, but until that point she was a pretty well-liked babyface. So really, it was only Becky was the only heel, and to be fair, she ended up getting a lot of the cheers. So, yeah, it was a very weirdly booked match. I think they could do with really fleshing out some of the kind of who's the babyface and who's the heel across the whole divisions, really.
But again, I'd love for WWE to read the crowds and just be like lean into these certain things. Like they might as well just lean into the Lacey Evans heel heat. If it continues, then just lean into it. As I say, the gimmick lends perfectly into. It's kind of weird connection here, but it's kind of like Jack Swagger, isn't it? Like he can still be the all-American patriot kind of character and be a heel at the same time. It just lends itself to both. You can
weirdly, that type of gimmick tends to lend itself more to a heel than it does a babyface anyway. So I'm not too sure what that says, but still,
yeah. No, you just like it's a very subtle turn, isn't it? To go now they're like bitter, about being all-American and the crowd, but like it just like she could just react to the crowd booing it and become bitter about that and just easily turn into a heel if they need to lead into it.
I mean, it's super easy for Lacey, and she can just be like, I fought in the services, the armed forces for you, and you're booing me, how dare you? Straight away, it's just like instant, isn't it?
Yeah, and there you go, done.
Yeah,
but we'll see, because it might have just been a one-off in all fairness, but
well, exactly,
could be a sign at times.
But yeah, this is the big kind of surprise moment, is the fact that it ended up going to Liv. Liv Morgan was the winner of the Women's Money in the Bank 2022, and I think.
And if you don't like that, live with it.
Hey, I like that. That should be a gimmick right there. Why has she done that? Has she done that before? Was that like an NXT thing, or have you just come up with that right now?
I don't know. If it was an NXT thing, I swear to God, I did not see it.
There you go. Live with it. That's what she needs to do. You heard it here first. Anthony's a genius. But yeah, so we had Liv win the match, and yeah, she was Miss Money in the Bank, and it was a wonderful way to kick off the show. Got the crowd absolutely amped. I think everybody was made up that she won, which is obviously when you're onto a winner. And yeah, I think we'll hear more from Miss Morgan later on in the show. So the next one to talk about, and as we said in the little known fact of the week this week on This Week in Wrestling, this was the very first time the United States Championship was the only men's singles title to be defended in a one-on-one match on pay-per-view in the whole history of the belt. So across WCW, NWA, and now WWE, this is the first time it's been the only men's single to be defended on a pay-per-view, which is insane. But yeah, this is where it screwed me over this. Because, right, and you've got to sympathise with me, people, because how was I to know Austin Theory would be added to the main to the bloody and spoilers? Austin Theory was added to the men's Money in the Bank.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Carl. I was conflicted with this match because Lashley was the clear, obvious choice to win, and he did. But Theory is a mid card at the moment. I know you're big on the guy. But where they're going with him, and we'll talk about that. Like, I just don't like it. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. This. I feel like he should have had the US title and been in that scene.
You're wrong. You're wrong, aren't you?
No, I'm not wrong. He's a mid card, and he'll go back to the mid card, Carl.
He won't. He's the future. That's my theory, anyway. But no. So
future endeavor, more like.
Whoa!
I know that was a bit mean.
Savage. But to be fair, I thought there'd only be one title that changed hands on this night. Now I was wrong because there was 2. But I also thought that the title that would change hands would be the tag titles. So that was the main reason why I thought Bobby would not win this, and it would be Austin Theory who would retain. But I was wrong, and I can accept that.
It would have sat better if Austin Theory retained and carried on his tour of the mid-card that you meant to do when you knew.
You know what they say, right? Even a broken clock is wrong 22 times a day. Right? Is that the same? So I got it wrong.
He probably had to win through shenanigans, but he should have won.
I don't know. I think I genuinely didn't know what was going to happen with Austin Theory. I do believe he's a main event player. I think they need to build new stars, and I think they could have used this.
This isn't building new stars. This is just putting someone in a main event position and going, "You're a star now." They didn't build shit.
It's actually, you want to be a star, don't you? So he has to actually deliver on that.
Why have you got a bottle of baby oil? Don't ask.
You wonder why he's Vince's protege. Vince loves his big muscly men, doesn't he? But yeah, so it's one of them. I don't think Bobby needs to be the US champion. I'm not going to lie. But obviously, knowing what we know now about Theory,
Austin Theory does. He needs to be the US champion. He needs to prove himself on the mid card before getting propelled into a title scene.
We'll cover this when we talk about the men's winning in a second, because I've got some thoughts on it. But yeah, essentially, we got Bobby as the new champ, and we now know that there's going to be a rematch taking place at SummerSlam. So you may still be right, Anthony. Or Theory might win it back. Anyway, you never know. You never know these things, but to be fair, match-wise, I thought it was really good. I think these two got some good chemistry. I think Austin Theory was the perfect kind of foil for Lashley, who was very much about using his strength and his power, and Theory was kind of using a combination because he's got the strength, but he was also using his agility as well throughout the match. So I thought it was a strong showing for the pair of them, to be honest, and a surprise for me because I did not expect Bobby to be the one picking up the win. So there you go. Next, we're going to go on to the first women's title match of the night, and we had Bianca Belair versus Carmella.
Yeah, not a bad match, this, to be honest. It was a given, wasn't it? I think this is probably one of the points that I got because I think everyone knew how this was going to go. But not bad.
No, not bad by any means.
It did exactly what it said on the tin.
Yeah, I think it also reminds people that Carmella has been a champion before, and I know she's kind of in this position where people look at her as this thing of ridicule almost from a gimmick standpoint with, she's not really done anything in the title picture for a while. But at the end of the day, she showed that she can belong, she can hang in this division, and
definitely.
All in all, it was a good match. I think, as you said, it was a foregone conclusion. Bianca wasn't losing to Carmella, but it was interesting that after the match, they had Carmella attack Bianca. So it seems like to some degree they're going to continue this feud. Obviously, we saw on Raw, we had the tag match with Natalya and Liv. But
yeah, so like you said, they are kind of keeping something burning there, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's interesting because I didn't think that they would carry on with it, but at the same time, it's a weird one with Bianca because where does she go from here? So she carries on feuding with Carmella for a bit, but then who? What's next? Is it Rhea Ripley when she comes back from injury, which was meant to be
Bailey when she returns, obviously,
or Bailey? Yeah, could be. It's mad to think that the names that were discussed for Bianca after she won the title back was another feud with Sasha, a feud with Naomi, a feud with Rhea Ripley, and then, Naomi and Sasha are gone. I think Bailey's still not come back yet from injury. She was discussed, and it's Rhea Ripley's injured, so it's she needs something. She needs a break, doesn't she? But yeah, all in all, match-wise was fine, and I think foregone conclusion. Don't think anybody really believed Carmella was going to win.
Sadly, that's the thing. It's not a diss to Carmella, but it just be so out of place in Bianca's current run to lose to Carmella. So it was a bit of a foregone conclusion, but still a really solid match.
Indeed. So the next match we got was the tag titles, and
this was shocking.
I was very vocal on this. I think we both agreed, didn't we? Is how many times are the Street Profits going to go up against the Usos and lose? Which is why my pick was surely this is the time.
It seemed like it would be, didn't it?
Yeah.
It makes sense if they did, but alas, we're getting this continued run for the Usos, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the Street Profits were so due here. I just don't understand why we didn't. This would have been the right time. This would have been the perfect time.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, this match got a lot of praise and a lot of plaudits as well. I think a lot of people had this as their match of the night, and it was a really good match. I think typically
It was a
WWE
solid
doesn't
match. It
do.
was more the finish that bugged me.
Yeah, like
Well, not
WWE
the
doesn't really
finish as
do
a spot, but the decision.
like the result. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah, WWE doesn't really do tag team wrestling very well, in my opinion. At least not for a while. Oh, bored just thinking about it. But yeah, so essentially, I was quite surprised by how well executed this match was, and I think as we've seen these two teams go up against each other countless times before, I think I was surprised to see this was one of the better matches that they've had as a grouping. So fair play, but yeah, I think where do you go from here now? What team is really going to dethrone the Usos? Like, it would have made so much sense to have the Usos lose their belts, so Roman had a lot more at stake. He's the final person to have some gold for the bloodline and stuff like that. But
Yeah, exactly.
no,
Yeah,
Usos have
they
still
need
got
to
it.
lose theirs before Roman loses his, really.
Well, exactly.
But
So I've no idea what they're going to do, where they're going to go, but
the Alpha Academy, they're going to do it. Alpha Academy all the way.
I mean, I would like that, to be fair, because similar to you, I'm a big fan, but I just can't see it happening. I don't know where they're going to go. Obviously, there's rumours now that the Street Profits are going to break up as well. They're going to give Montez a singles run.
Naturally, because we can't have a good tag team, an established tag team,
Oh,
one
God,
that have a gimmick that works and they actually are a tag team instead of just two random people put together. We can't have that, Carl. Just
God,
can't
no.
have it.
So
Surprised the Usos are still a team, I'll be honest with you.
yeah, I mean, well, there was that time when Jimmy was unavailable for a bit and he turned Jay as a single star, didn't he?
This is the thing, and WWE have a history of splitting tag teams up. And I was quite surprised they actually formed the Usos again when he got back. So I was like, okay, they've not done that. That's nice.
Yeah. But yeah, who knows? Who knows where it's going to go?
Who
But
knows?
yeah, that's what they should call themselves, the Who Knows, instead of the Usos.
Nice.
So next we had Ronda Rousey versus Natalya, and the match was okay. It was nothing to shout home about. I think it was anybody who watched the build up to this knew it was going to be very much a case of sharpshooter versus armbar, an ankle lock kind of combination. Because that seems to be all Ronda Rousey's feuds.
Let's not forget the punches.
Yeah, Shane McMahon punches and other people's finishes. That's the way Ronda rolls. But yeah, it was just okay. I think the build up was better than the actual execution, which is a shame because you've got obviously Natalya, who's a veteran, and you've got Ronda, who can put on a decent match when she actually gives a shit. But I think it's clear she's not giving a shit for a while, unfortunately. So one of those things.
But a better feud than expected, in all fairness. And as you say, wasn't ever going to be match of the night, but it did the job.
It did the job because after Ronda got the win, it led us to the surprise moment of the night, which was so earlier in the night, Liv Morgan was interviewed saying that she's no idea when she's going to cash in, but WrestleMania is sounding pretty good right now, trying to throw us off the scent. When little did we know, and there's been a video going around now. I don't know if you've seen it. It's tried to go viral from WWE of Michael Cole and Pat McAfee kind of their perspective when Liv decided to cash in, because seemingly they didn't know about it. So obviously they heard her music and was kind of had to get into character as being like, is she gonna cash in? And Michael Cole was going apeshit, and it seemed like that was some actual real emotion from them as opposed to actually scripted, which would make sense if they didn't know that the cash in was coming. So
yeah, it's a good way of getting a realistic reaction from them, innit?
Yeah, and I think this was an interesting one. So I put on our TikTok account, I did a little face swap thing of Liv Morgan after she won the belt, with obviously the picture of her with her title as the last picture, and a couple of comments on there were very much against it, which I thought was weird. It was saying I can't believe Liv would beat Ronda, and it was someone else commented saying, imagine if she would have made Ronda tap out, and all the fans would have gone crazy and all this kind of stuff, as in negative. And I'm like, would they? Ronda was not over really with that crowd, in my opinion.
Exactly. I think that it would have been slightly insulting for it to have tapped Ronda out, but I don't know if the fans would have really been that bothered by it.
No, and I think as well, I want to make it very clear, I'm massively happy with the outcome because I made up for Liv. That being said, the finish sucked. So Liv came out, decided to cash in. She got put in an ankle lock for a solid 30 seconds to a minute, where everyone in the crowd was booing, thinking, oh, Liv's going to lose cash in. And then essentially she managed to kick Ronda once in the thigh and then pinned her. Now, it should have been more emphatic.
Down, you'd be like, oof. Like, you'd get pinned, wouldn't you? It'd be like, ow, my thigh. I'm not getting up from this.
This is what really bothers me. Anyone who listens to my, listen to me ramble on about this across all of our segments in the past, you'll know that me and William Regal have got something in common, which is you need to make a pin look convincing, and it needs to actually, somebody needs to be laid out, and you need to be really trying to cover them. And unfortunately, this wasn't the case. It was a kick to the thigh and a little roll up, and it was lame, which is a shame because I was made up. Like Liv, finally the champion.
And the woman who couldn't kick out was up seconds later, giving her a hug.
Exactly. So it's stuff like that, which it's a shame because you have to question the people producing these matches, like the road agents and stuff, because it's their job ultimately is to plan the finish and to plan the execution, and it was poor. It was piss poor, and it happens too often, especially in WWE, where it's not convincing enough. There's no way you can tell me that Ronda Rousey wouldn't kick out after a little kick to the thigh, no matter how bad her leg was. The other leg's fine. Kick out, you dickhead. So, yeah. That aside, though, how cool is it? Liv's the champ, finally.
Indeed.
Finally.
Look forward to seeing where they go with it, man.
Well, yeah, where are they going to go? Seems like Liv's going to go to SmackDown. They tease potentially setting up something with Natalya now off the back of this, which wouldn't be the worst.
It's a cool idea. I think it's a good starting point for it, to be honest.
Yeah. But I suppose from like a long-term standpoint, she goes to SmackDown, and it's interesting because they've also got Raquel Rodriguez and people like that who are, and Shotzi who are kind of waiting for her. So, yeah, where does it go?
Indeed. So, yeah, interesting to say the least.
Indeed. My throat is gone. There we go. Apologies to your ears. Which leads us on to the final match of the night, which was the men's Money in the Bank. And, again, I think we were all wrong on this, because moments before the match began, Adam Pearce came out and made it official that there was an 8th entrant, which was none other than the former US champion, Austin Theory.
Ooh, hiss.
I didn't mind it. I like Austin Theory. He's got a lot of shit for this, and I think, go into it. Go in hard. Tell me why you hate it so much.
Too soon. I'm not against the concept of him like weaseling his way into the match because he's got a point of privilege, and he's clearly Vince McMahon's protege. He would have the ear of Adam Pearce, most likely, who doesn't want to upset Vince McMahon. So the idea that he could talk his way into that extra entrance position makes sense to me. But the fact that he goes on to win pisses me off.
So let me ask you then. Let me pose the question. Looking at the people who were in the match, who would you have had win?
Drew. Look, let's be honest, right? Theory isn't credible enough yet. I totally agree with you. He's a future talent. He's definitely got what it takes to be a star. But it doesn't feel realistic that he could take on Roman. If he actually somehow won the belt, it doesn't feel realistic that he could defend himself from the likes of Rollins or the likes of Drew McIntyre. It just feels odd because he hasn't been built up enough yet. He hasn't had the same, like, people are likening him to John Cena, but yeah, at least John Cena spent some time with the US title and on the US title scene. I feel like they've just pushed him right to the top, and it's either going to be a massive flop or they're going to put the title on him. And either way, it's a shame because he's going to run around with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and it's either going to go the way of Otis, where they don't know what the fuck to do and they're going to shit the bed, or they're going to actually put the title on him. And then what we're going to do, have a load of matches where you don't expect him to win and he somehow does.
Well, let me see your argument and raise you The Miz. Now, in my mind, Austin Theory, or Theory, as he's now called, is just another Miz. Now, when Miz won Money in the Bank, everyone was like, why did they give it to The Miz? What's he going to do with that? This is going to be shit, right? Look at The Miz now. Right. He's a double Grand Slam winning, champion. He's held the WWE title multiple times. And you would look at him and go, right, well, he's not on the same level as maybe Reigns and all that kind of stuff, but Yeah, he's a top guy. Why can't that be Theory? Sometimes for me, I think the chicken shit heel needs some like if you give the briefcase to
Look,
Drew,
I'm
he
struggling
walks around with
to
a sword
dispute
and a
your
briefcase, and he's
arguments.
just
I
like,
don't like that.
yeah, right. But you give it to someone like Austin Theory, and instantly you've just got another another layer to the chicken shit heel who's like, and I can cash in this thing whenever I want, and it's a heat magnet, isn't it? Now people argued on TikTok when we put the Austin Theory video out, saying that oh fucking he's not ready, similar to kind of what you're saying, or like I hate his gimmick, the selfie thing, and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, well, this is the kind of thing you
One
give
thing
somebody.
I will say a couple of bits from the comments from TikTok, and I only read them briefly because there was fucking hundreds. When people are saying they don't like the selfie gimmick, totally agree. They just robbed that from Tyler Breeze. But one thing I massively disagree with is people arguing that it's the wrong kind of heat. As much as I think this is too soon, I don't understand the concept of the wrong kind of heat.
Now
This isn't
it does
X-Pac.
exist. Well, exactly,
No,
it
it
does
does
exist.
but this is not Theory. Theory is not getting X-Pac heat.
No, he's getting heel heat, which is what you want, right? And I think, to be fair, I don't see this gimmick the same as Tyler Breeze, because Tyler Breeze is all about the selfie stick, and he's like a wannabe model and all this kind of stuff. Austin Theory is just a prick. He's someone
he
who
just
beats you and then wants to take a picture with your
rubs
corpse
himself
and
in
be like,
baby oil and take
right?
selfies.
So for me, that I hate that comparison because I don't see it. But at the same time, it's not the best gimmick in
literally
the
it's
world.
selfie.
Of course, it's
How
not.
can you not see the comparison? It's the other guy who does selfies.
But it's not, because Tyler Breeze never took a selfie with his like defeated opponent in like oh, I'm awesome. He took a selfie of himself because he loved himself. Whereas Theory is such a prick
The
that when he beats you,
comparison's there with the guy who takes selfies and the other guy who takes selfies.
disagree. That's like saying, oh god, he's got the same gimmick as this guy because they're both wrestlers. Nah, don't see it, right? So I disagree with that. But yeah, the gimmick isn't amazing, don't get me wrong, but that's exactly why you give somebody the money in the bank. Because is he now going to be the same kind of guy who continues to take selfies every week, or has he got the money in the bank now to move him away from that?
I know you're saying he's got a year to cash in, so it might not have to be Roman, but his options are Roman or Roman. So like he's a bit fucked in that sense, and this is where it becomes really difficult for the cash in, because nobody will want Theory to be the guy who dethrones Roman. Like that's where he will get the wrong kind of heat.
But, and again, I don't think this has been made clear yet. Have the titles been merged, or does Roman just hold both titles?
I do not even know.
Maybe there is a stipulation
them in months.
in that little briefcase that says you can cash in for one of the belts, and therefore that's how you get it off.
Honestly,
Roman.
Maybe they make that a story. Imagine, right? He surprises. I don't know. I know you don't like these roll ups, but he surprise roll ups Roman out of nowhere, wins the belts. Roman loses his shit, and the only way you can justify it is on a technicality. He didn't win both.
Yeah.
So exactly. The only way of saving face, he goes, no, you didn't. You won one belt through a cheap shot or whatever, right? Maybe they could do something like that. I don't know. It might be their way of separating the two fucking things.
Well,
again.
that's
I don't know.
There's loads of different ways you can go at it, but at the same time, I think he also gets a lot of flack for the point you mentioned there. Is like, does anyone really see Austin Theory defeating Roman? And it's like, well, that wouldn't be the case if WWE didn't fuck up and put both belts on Roman. Now, if Miz held one of them belts and Austin Theory cashed in, you'd be like, oh yeah, okay. But it's because they're both on Roman, they've booked themselves into a corner.
Drew held one of them belts, or Seth held one of them belts, or well, that's pretty much it. But
exactly. Because at the end of the day, the talent pool is not very deep, especially from a main event level. So I get both of us and everyone else's opinion is they don't push new stars, but then as soon as they do, everyone loses their fucking mind. So you can never make anyone happy. For me, I think it's great. I think you've given
not happy.
You've given a fresh, young, up and coming talent an opportunity to be Money in the Bank.
So I have a question for you.
Go on.
Do you think, had Cody have been here, this was Cody's spot?
Maybe. Now, from
do you think that's the only reason they pulled the trigger on Theory, because things went a bit pear-shaped?
From the dirt sheets, it's never been confirmed by anyone that Cody was definitely going to win the Money in the Bank, but I would imagine he would have done. Yeah, of course. He would have been in this match, and he's so hot since he's come in he would have absolutely got it. So
we've missed out on Cody winning the Money in the Bank, and then Cody coming out on Raw and talking about his dad.
Basically, yeah. My dad had a briefcase. Would be how the promo went.
Never one like this.
Yeah, and I said to him, "I'm gonna get a briefcase." No, it's I feel bad taking the piss out of him because obviously he's a cool guy, but yeah,
he is. He's a cool guy, but there's just relentless promos about like the same shit. It does do.
In my soul, formulaics, how it goes. Yeah, it's basically the same shit, isn't it? Every week. So yeah, it's one of them. I genuinely couldn't have been happier because before this pay-per-view, I was like, well, who are you going to put it on? It's either going to be Riddle, which I don't want, Seth Rollins, which he's had it before, does he need it again? Or Drew, which, yeah, I'd like Drew to be champion, but does he need a briefcase and a sword?
I'll be completely honest. I really wanted Drew to do the exact same fucking thing to Roman again. I so wanted that. And I know that would have been the ultimate, like, WWE just repeating the same shit, but I would have fucking loved that.
You mean Seth doing it again?
Sorry, I said the wrong names today.
Oh yeah, I was confused. So do you mean when the Brock Lesnar Roman thing we were saying last week?
Yeah, we mentioned it last week. I would fucking love that. I would fucking love Seth to.
It would have been so on the nose and so annoying to so many people that it would have been
love it.
Genius. I would have liked it as well.
Seriously, did I say the wrong names then? Did I just have a moment?
I think you said Drew, which is why I was confused. I think you said, I wish Drew would have done it and done what he did last time, and I was like, what did he do?
Yeah,
what did Drew do?
Seth.
Seth. Yeah, I would like that as well. But at the end of the day, I get your point. He doesn't feel ready for a world title. Of course not. But how do you ever build this? Is the big fucking problem WWE have got. You've got no new stars. And no offense to the likes of Riddle. I don't mean it to sound this way. But it's like, they've got Riddle. And it's like, that's it.
Riddle. The thing is, for me, I think the problem isn't so much theory in this position. It's the fact that I keep telling, I've been talking to you about this right the way through, saying he should have been on the mid-cards more. He should have built up with the mid-card scene, etc., etc. And I kept saying that. But the more I think about it, is like, what mid-card scene?
Well, exactly.
This is the problem. If we had a better, stronger mid-card scene with the IC title and the US title having more prominence and more respect, then that would be where you'd put Theory to build up as a future main event star. But what do you get out of those scenes at the minute? So far, I think Walter holds the IC title at the moment, and you just don't get to see it.
Well, yeah, in a time when we've got 5 hours of television a week, this is the time when we can't find time to showcase the Intercontinental or the US titles.
And this is where I disagree with him being in this position now, Theory, because I think you've always classed the IC title as the worker's belt, the workhorse belt. That's the belt you get when you're gonna be a future champion, but you're not quite there yet. And that's exactly what Theory is right now. But the title scene is so fucked that you wouldn't he wouldn't be near the IC or US title. Well, he just had the US title, but the scene's not really there for him to showcase what he is and what he's going to be.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I agree with what you're saying. It does feel too much too soon for Theory, but at the same time, if they don't start building new stars now, we're going to get to WrestleMania. Fucking what's the next one after this one? 39, and we're not going to have anyone because all the go-tos, your Brock Lesnar's, your fucking Cena's. Everyone who comes, for WrestleMania season every year won't be there. And then who you going to tune in for?
Well, not Theory. Yeah.
Well, not now. But, you can say the same about John Cena at the time. He came in as the fucking ruthless aggression guy, got absolutely fucking buried until he found his rap gimmick. And then that was it.
His rap gimmick is over as fuck, though. Theory's not over.
Well, not yet, but maybe he's not found his rap gimmick. Maybe the selfie gimmick isn't it. Maybe the Money in the Bank will be.
Theory just hasn't found his rap gimmick. I like that.
Exactly. So,
but I will, taking the positives out of this pay-per-view, as you mentioned, let's give credit where credit's due. They are doing everything that people have been moaning for. It wasn't a predictable pay-per-view, and they were pushing younger talent and new stars. Credit where credit's due
and
on both counts.
Nobody's happy, which is all you can want from the wrestling fan base.
The new T-shirt we need to bring out: perpetually unhappy.
It's true, isn't it?
Wrestling fans.
No, but you will please nobody with any decisions that you make. So, yeah, you can understand why the product's in the toilet like it is now, because no matter what you do, people won't be happy with it. So it is what it is. But all in all, yeah, thought it was a good pay-per-view or premium live event. Sorry. And yeah, surprising. I was obviously surprised the shit out of me. I only got 2 points on prediction series, so lowest I think I've ever gotten. So I was definitely surprised by the outcomes. And yeah, probably quite happily surprised, to be fair. So we'll see how it all works. We'll see what's next for Liv. We'll see, how long Austin Theory holds it for. He's got this match with Bobby Lashley, hasn't he? So will he be the US champ and the Money in the Bank, or how's it going to work?
I think, I don't know where they're going with that rematch, but I don't think he's going to be US champ. I'm certain they're going to drop the title away from Roman before he cashes in, though. Or at least one of the titles. I don't think it'd be Theory versus Roman.
No, I mean, to be fair though, with the Money in the Bank, it's not like it's a match, is it? It could just be Roman's being absolutely decimated by Brock.
But this is where I think, again, I really don't think he's going to cash in on Roman per se, because it lends into exactly what Theory is, this chicken shit heel. If somebody puts in all the work to finally dethrone Roman, and then that little fucker comes out and cashes in on them. Let's be honest, that would have more impact than Roman retaining and him cashing in if somebody actually managed to dethrone Roman and that little fucker comes out when he's exhausted and he's just done it. Like, that would lend so much into that gimmick that it just makes sense to me,
Well, there you go. So, there's a lot of things that you can do to make it work. So you just got to hope that they do make it work, because he has got all the potential in the world. So hopefully they don't ruin him.
I'm also quite aware that I'm there, like, that little fucker, and he's like, what, 6 foot odd and built like a brick shit house. I don't know where
he might only be like 21 or 23 or whatever he is, but he will end you. That's what I'm saying. and also, I thought about it before. When you were saying that. It's like, what is it with wrestlers' names? Riddle, Theory, like, the fuck? When's question and sentence gonna come out?
Like, Mysterio.
Yeah. Yeah. Mysterio. Like, what is it? What is it with just questions? Are they just literally just there saying we need to come up with a name for this guy, and they've got a list of words for fucking, question.
It's just the same name. They just got a thesaurus.
Synonyms for.
I used a thesaurus.
Exactly. So yeah.
Make a fun reference there for you, Carl.
Oh yeah. Gotta love friends. Indeed. So yeah, Money in the Bank. It happened. It was another good show. You can see now why it's maybe trying to edge its way into the top 4 pay-per-views of the year. So you can definitely make a case for it. It's always good.
Edge its way in. This is definitely one of the top 4. Fuck Survivor Series. Until Survivor Series does what I said before, AEW versus WWE, Survivor Series is not part of the big 4. It can go fuck itself.
Okay, Survivor Series can go fuck itself. You heard it here first. So yeah, thanks for tuning. Fucking hell, you can tell I'm tired. Thanks for joining in all the shows this week. We had This Week in Wrestling, where we had a little bit of an extra this week because Dynamite was last night, because we're late, like we often are. So we got to speak about that. We had all the latest news and rumours in the Ringside Report, and now we spoke about Money in the Bank. So, after listening to all of them, I'm sure you want to check out our interview with Griff Garrison, if you haven't already. And here is the wonderful, glorious Locks Griff Garrison himself to say goodbye this week. And from A to the K, we'll say goodbye to. Bye.
Bye.
This is Griff Garrison, and you're listening to A to the K.
A to the K. A to the K.
A to the K.